following podcast is for informational purposes only. The contents of this podcast do not constitute tax, legal, or investment advice. Take responsibility for your own decisions, consult with the proper professionals, and do your own research.
But in case of the graph, we can find pretty good team with really strong developers and really good tokenomics. And in the same time, we have project that could be base for all future decentralized applications.
We're like astronauts floating in the space of time.
Welcome to the GRT-IQ podcast. Today I'm speaking with Kasper and Konstantin from P2P, an indexer at the graph. P2P is a well-known and very large indexer, sometimes accounting for more than 30% of the total GRT staked by the delegator community. Our conversation spans several interesting topics, including how P2P balances their position as a large indexer with their mission to help decentralize the network, the factors by which the P2P team determined to regularly close rewards allocations on a daily basis. And although this is old news, I was interested to hear more about the unique perspective they took regarding GIP2. I started the conversation by asking Kasper to describe who P2P is and how they got involved in the graph.
So P2P Validator, we're a non-custodial staking service for primarily professional investors and traders. We launched in 2018 on a mission to positively influence and contribute to proof-of-stake networks. Initially, this included a focus on the core networks, so Polkadot, Solana, Cosmos. And in recent years, it's expanded to support innovative networks like the graph. Since our launch, we've grown to manage approximately $3.8 to $4 billion in staked assets as of right now, paid over $180 million out in rewards to our stakers, and we currently support more than 6,500 professional clients who work with us to compound their investments and grow their digital asset portfolios. And we currently support more than 25 unique blockchain networks, with the graph being a core one of these 25 networks.
You describe P2P as a non-custodial validator. What is meant by non-custodial?
Non-custodial, again, goes back to what I just mentioned, P2P being in line with the decentralized spirit of the industry. So we're very much proponents of giving our users control and not putting them in a position where they need to trust us or hand over, for example, private keys or assets, hand these things over to us to an extent that they're uncomfortable with it. So non-custodial, in the simplest terms, means that you're staking from the security of your own wallet. You don't have to trust us to maintain the security and control of your funds. You simply need to trust us to provide, a clean connection to, in this example, the graph network. So you stake with us, you maintain full control and custody of your funds, and you never actually put your funds in a compromised state.
So you're joining me from Denmark and Konstantin's joining from Russia. Where are the headquarters for P2P?
We are a fully distributed team with employees all around the world. We don't have a headquarter or a core office that we go to. And we have developers, builders, analysts, and everything else distributed around the world. So we very much try to adopt decentralized spirit of the industry.
So starting with you, Kasper, what is your role at P2P?
So my role at P2P is a marketing and growth focused role. So I try to, spread the values of P2P as well as the values and benefits of non-custodial staking. So we are avid believers in the fact that non-custodial staking is a beneficial activity for everyone in this industry. You don't need to be a hedge fund or an institutional investor to reap the benefits of non-custodial staking. It's an activity that benefits not only individuals, but also the networks that they support. So it contributes to, for example, the security of these blockchain networks. And my role at P2P is to help spread this message and get more people staking.
Welcome, Konstantin. How about you? What's your role at P2P?
I'm a product manager on the Graph network, and I am responsible for entire work regarding to the Graph. We decided that we need to dedicate some person for this project because the Graph network, it's a quite promising project. And actually, we worked with Graph almost from the beginning. We was on one of the earliest investors and as a test indexer using the testnet. And now we also play in our skin in the Graph network. And that's why we have one of the biggest self-stake.
P2P works with a lot of different projects. What drew the team to the Graph?
We was kind of early investors in the Graph because team is pretty strong. And actually, main idea of the Graph, it's pretty cool and pretty helpful for the blockchain. The Graph network, it is actually only one project about infrastructure itself. You can hear about a lot about Chainlink or maybe even Tezos or any other. But the Graph, it's not something like pretty common or something that a lot of people speaking about because it is just a really working project with working utility tokens. A couple of days ago, one of the, I think it was a delegator, he asked in the Discord about the Graph and why it is so quiet about the Graph inside of the cryptocurrency communities and why I didn't hear about it a lot because I don't know. It is a really important project because a lot of decentralization, decentralized application already based on the Graph. And it's a really cool product which allow to work with blockchains and speed up all transactions and get all information to your debt pretty quick. And it's obviously is a groundbreaking project that could be one of the base projects in the Web3. And it's actually pretty interesting why so small amount of people speaking about it. And I think main reason is a crypto community most focused on the price conversation about pump and dump schemes and not about technology itself. But in case of the Graph, we can find pretty good team with really strong developers and really good tokenomics. And in the same time, we have project that could be base for all future decentralized applications. It was a great opportunity for us to join to the Graph network, not only as an early investor, but also as a part of the community. And that's why we started as an indexer, because we already had some experience with other networks.
Yeah, I think we've seen the Graph as a incredibly exciting network, serious team behind it, serious community behind it. And yeah, I think all these things came together and it was inevitable that P2P would try to contribute and try to help the network or contribute to the development of the network.
One of the things that distinguishes P2P at the Graph is the size of your indexer operation. I'm curious how you think about that. What are your thoughts about being the biggest indexer at the Graph?
Yeah, we are not trying to be biggest one, actually. It's just how it is for now. And we don't invest in the marketing for the Graph as an indexer, because we already understand that we are quite big and we should give some space for other indexers. But we understood that we can't just leave our clients who are already with us, because they are working with us and they are appreciated our work. And a huge part of them worked with us from other networks. Like, for example, it could be clients who work with us for staking from, for example, Solana or maybe Cosmos or something like that. And the same people have GRT tokens, and they are good with our service, and they're good with profitability with us. and they understand that work with us is pretty safe for them. And that's why they choose to work with us in the graph. And it is a huge part of our clients here. So we don't try right now to be biggest and to get like a lot of part from the pie. So we're just working and we are quiet. We don't speaking loud about us. And actually, it's no any kind of initiative from our side to be bigger than we have right now.
So how about you, Kasper? How do you think P2P balances being a large indexer or validator and also pursues a mission towards decentralization and building communities in the networks you work?
So I think I'll tie them both together. I think they both ties very well back to what Konstantin just mentioned about the ways that we try to promote ourselves and the ways that we don't try to promote ourselves, if that makes sense. There are a lot of opportunities in this industry to be very, to use industry terms, shilly, to try to really push your own project at all costs, regardless of the consequences or detrimental impact this might have on, I guess, the industry, on the networks that you're purporting to support, and so on. And that kind of takes us back to the P2P Validator mission, where we walk a very fine line between, on the one hand, growing the staking economy, so growing the number of people that stake their tokens, on the one hand with P2P, and on the other hand with other validators, the number of other fantastic validators that exist in the space. And we have to try to balance this with also being positive contributors to the ecosystems and networks that we do try to support, the graph being a fundamental one here in this discussion. So as we mentioned earlier, we're incredibly enthusiastic about the graph. We are long-term believers in it. We're early investors, and we are, to put it mildly, diehard contributors on a mission to see the graph grow and succeed. This is only possible if P2P, of course, also manages to contribute to the decentralization of the graph as well. And that's kind of is a bit poorly phrased, but that kind of goes back to what our mission is. We're not trying to grow the number of people that stake with P2P at all costs. If you do choose to stake with P2P based on, I guess, a number of factors, whether it's our background, our history in the space, our experience, our merits, or anything else that you find appealing, then that's fantastic. But we are also on a mission to fundamentally grow the staking economy as a whole. And that includes growing and contributing to networks like the graph. So yeah, it goes back to what I mentioned in the beginning as the P2P mission. Our mission is not to become the most profitable staking infrastructure, staking provider in the space. Our mission is to grow the staking economy. The only way we can do this is if we educate people on the benefits of staking in a decentralized manner, to educate people not just on our merits, but on the merits of other validators in the space, and the benefits of staking, as you mentioned, with smaller validators, to help grow, I guess, the validator infrastructure for each network as a whole. I think if our mission wasn't like this, we could have developed a custodial, very centralized, almost an exchange type infrastructure where people can send us their funds, we can stake it for them, you make your money, and it's simple as that. And that's not the mission we're on. Those are not the steps that we've taken, and it kind of contradicts the mission that we're on.
So Konstantin, as project manager or lead at the graph for P2P, take me through your thoughts on how you, as a large indexer, think about smaller indexers.
That's pretty important for especially new delegators. Like new people just joining to the Discord and asking about, okay, guys, I'm new here and I'm not sure that which indexer I should choose, which one I should work. Could you recommend me someone? And in all of these cases, actually, we are trying to avoid any direct recommendations. And especially, we don't recommend ourselves for them, because we are already the biggest indexer, and we understand that decentralization is really a good story, and we should support decentralization. That's why we are participating in all discussion inside of Discord, and don't try to invite new delegators via Discord. And if someone asks us about some indexer, we don't speak bad about anyone, even if someone of them spoke bad about us previously, because we think unhealthy and toxic behavior if you speak bad about someone. And other thing, small indexers or maybe some new indexers can set negative reward cut, and new delegators who doesn't know about all aspects how to choose a right indexer, they can look at the reward cut and estimated API and think oh, it's a really high estimated API, I will go to this indexer. And after several weeks, we have the same person in the Discord with questions like, my indexer didn't close allocation yet, and nobody answered my questions from his side. Is indexer still alive or not? And sometimes indexers just, disappear. This kind of delegator should wait 8 days and just lose their potential rewards. That's why I think it's pretty complicated, not thinking only about estimated API, but also about all other factors like customer support, self-stake amount, because we have slashing mechanism. It's some kind of protection for delegators. That indexer is pretty interesting for working hard and have good service for their delegators.
I think Konstantin raised a very good point here, at least on the marketing front. Again, on marketing activities for a network like the Graph, we're not running $1 million user acquisition campaigns and doing everything that we can to try to get people to stake their GRT with us. Our mission, at least on the marketing and communications front, what I can speak for, is to create educational content and beneficial content for the industry, but for network participants and followers of the Graph network, to educate users and to create materials, documentation that works to grow awareness of the industry or of the network more than anything.
The GRTIQ podcast is made possible by a generous grant from the Graph Foundation. The Graph Grants program provides support for protocol infrastructure, tooling, dApps, subgraphs, and community building effort. Learn more at thegraph.foundation. That's thegraph.foundation.
This is GRTIQ. Each week, we introduce listeners to different members of the Graph community and ecosystem.
Hi, this is Jim Cousins.
Hi, this is Derek Silva.
Hi, this is Juan.
Hi, this is Jerry O'Connor.
Hi, this is Tegan Klein.
Hi, this is Stefan Müller.
Hi, this is Gary Morris.
Hi, this is Eva Valen.
Hi, this is Zachary Byrne.
Our goal here is to engage listeners by telling the stories and sharing the insights of those helping to build the Graph. Please consider supporting this project by leaving a review wherever you listen to the podcast or by sharing your favorite episodes on social media. And don't forget to visit grtiq.com/podcast for detailed show notes. Thanks for listening. In addition to P2P size, there are two other things that distinguish you within the indexer community. You regularly close your rewards allocations on a daily basis. And as an indexer, you took a position against GIP2 when there was a lot of debate and discussion about that within the community. Starting with GIP2, can you explain why you took the position you did?
We understand and we agree that it was a really important proposal, and we agree in general that indexers should have ability to get rewards for just covering their operational costs. But in the same time, it was some kind of only one side road, because we're thinking about indexers, but we don't think about delegators here. And it's some kind of not so honest for the delegators. And we're trying to provide this kind of opinion that if we will approve this GIP, and indexers will get chance to get their rewards. It can lead us to some unhealthy behavior from some indexer side, or maybe from some delegator side. And how it could be, and actually we can find examples if you just look at the graph scan and or just make some queries to the graph. We can find a lot of examples where some indexers just set their reward cut to 100% and just starting to get all the rewards. And we don't know what they do with these rewards. Maybe they are working as a service who just get all the rewards, and after that just split them between delegators. But in this kind of hierarchy or maybe scam, it's work outside of the graph network, because you don't need to be a delegator in this, after this GIP. You just can, if you have some off-chain mechanism, you can just get your GRTs, send it to some indexer, and this indexer will just put this GRT as a self-stake. He will get all the rewards and just send it to you, and it's some kind of cheat. So yeah, main point is it was a not fully detailed solution which will cover all interests of all participants of the network. So that's why we was against of this GIP, and we trying to ask people to wait a little bit and make new GIP with the same mechanism for delegators rewards. And that was our point. If we want to give this tool for one part of participants, let's give the same opportunity to other part of the community, and it will be more honest. But yeah, we also understand that all of us should cover our operations costs, and that's why almost all voted as agree with this GIP.
So I guess as a follow-up, I'd be curious to know how you voted. Did you end up changing your mind, or did you stick to a no vote?
Actually, we just post our opinion and didn't vote, because it can't make some impact on the voting, because there was 99% who was agree with it. So that's why we just even didn't vote, and we just share our opinion and trying to get some support from the community, and maybe from the council, maybe postpone of this GIP for additional clarification, and maybe some additional actions for make it better for delegators also.
So as I said a moment ago, another thing that distinguishes P2P is that you close your rewards allocations almost daily. What factors did you consider when making the decision that you would be an indexer that closes rewards allocations so frequently?
We have several reasons for that. First of all, it gives some flexibility and transparency to our delegators. They can use any dashboards and will see their rewards on a daily basis. Also, they can undelegate their GRTs as soon as they want and don't lose their rewards for 1 week or even 28 days. That's actually possible in cases when other indexers close their allocations less frequently than P2P. Another thing that we not included in the dashboards APIs is the compounding of the rewards. When we reallocate every epoch, we also add rewards from the previous epoch. So eventually, it gives a little bit more rewards for our delegators. And as you know, right now we have several subgraphs, and all that we did before became more important, because for now, new indexers could start to allocate to some subgraph, or maybe current indexers just reallocate their tokens. And in this case, reward share from each subgraph could vary, and I can see it almost every day, because for now I just change the numbers of allocations, percentage of allocations for each subgraph every day for optimization goal. And actually, for now, it's I think it's the most important reason for allocating every day.
As more and more subgraphs migrate to the mainnet, will that strategy change? Do you anticipate closing your rewards allocations on a daily basis as more subgraphs migrate?
We should look at the numbers with new subgraphs, because for now it's like quite expensive to close allocations every day with new subgraphs. Like it's at least 10 times more expensive. But still, we calculate everything, and we always working for our clients, for delegators. And if we understand that everyday reallocation it is more profitable for our delegators, we will do that. If we will understand that everyday reallocation is too expensive and we can charge only 8% real reward cut, we will change it. But still, for now, we understand that it's pretty important to have this option to reallocate every day because of fluctuations of profitability of each subgraph. And we can't allow just allocate equal shares to all subgraphs, because we understand that it is not like a healthy behavior. We should understand total network profitability, all other indexers, their delegators, and that's why I told you that it's a pretty important topic.
Konstantin, one question I like to ask guests of the podcast is how they define or describe what a subgraph is. How do you do that?
Yeah, thank you. Actually, it's a really interesting question. Subgraph is some kind of endpoint for getting info from the blockchain with a prepared structure and indexed ordered data. You can imagine it as a book section in the library. I will explain it. Of course, you can go to some warehouse with books and try to find a particular book by reading book covers one by one until you read all of them or accidentally find the proper one. Instead of that, you can go to the library where you will have prepared navigation sections and the perfect order for everything. This way, you will find your book at least 100 times faster. Libraries doing this job for books, like Google for websites and the graph for the blockchain data. That's why the graph pretty often compare with Google for the website.
So let's stay on the topic of allocations and how you think about which subgraphs to allocate to. How have you thought about this following the recent migration of subgraphs to the mainnet?
Actually, it depends on also several factors, because if you are really a small indexer and you have several 100,000 GRTs or maybe a couple of million GRTs, you can just look at proportion for some subgraph between signal tokens and already staked tokens. You can find better proportion and just put all of your GRTs to this subgraph. And it is not a rocket science. You just put all on the one subgraph and everything is fine. And your estimated API will be quite good. But in case of huge indexers, like top 10 or maybe even top 15 by allocated tokens, you just can't work like this. Because, for example, for now, we work with almost 500 million GRTs, the allocated size. And if we just put all of these GRT, for example, to Dodo, we will get like 99% of the rewards from Dodo, but nothing from other subgraphs. And nobody else can join Dodo for getting rewards. And at the same time, even if we will take the biggest subgraph for now, it's an old version of Pull Together. There are, I think, 1 million GRT signal tokens. It is almost 8 times higher than other subgraphs. But still, we can't just allocate all of our delegators tokens to this subgraph because it's decrease rewards for other participants, for other indexers, and for us and our delegators at the same time. So we are trying to create optimized proportion, how to split all our GRTs to all subgraphs and have almost equal profitability for all network participants. And actually, it's pretty important thing because for now, every day when we close our allocations and reallocate to next epoch, we are looking at the last allocations from other indexers. And sometimes we can find pretty unhealthy behavior where, for example, one of the biggest indexers split a couple of 100 million GRTs on the equal shares and just allocate it to all possible subgraphs without any understanding how it will impact on other network participants and even how it will impact on their delegators. Because, for example, if you will look at some proportion for one subgraph, and it will be quite good. After you allocate your tokens, this proportion will change. And you can just put, for example, 50 million GRTs without any impact on the profitability. And in this case, you should understand, okay, if I will allocate some amount on one subgraph, I will impact on guys who was already there. And I can just allow to make some harm for them and decrease their profitability a lot. That's why we are working every day as some kind of equalizer, because we are trying to reach some equal profitability from each of current subgraphs. And I think it's pretty good work from our side to the community.
The delegator community was quite excited with the recent migration of subgraphs to the mainnet. What can you tell us about the experience of the migration from the perspective of an indexer?
First of all, it was some kind of surprise for the indexers, because several hours before that, on the call with the team, with the agent nodes team, heard that, we need a lot more testing, and yeah, we are definitely in schedule, but I think we need another 4 or 5 days at least. And after that, new subgraphs will come to play. And right after that, maybe I think 5 hours or something like that, just announce about new subgraphs. And it was actually night for me, 4 a.m. I think. And everything changed, and all indexers should change their allocation strategy and start thinking all new subgraphs. And as we can see, even now, not all indexers already indexed all new subgraphs. And if we speak about impact on the delegators, of course, for a couple of days in the beginning, right after migration started, some indexers decrease their API, because first indexers who started to reallocate their tokens to several subgraphs got more rewards from them. But after a couple of days, it was quite fluctuations just calm down, and for now it's not so a huge problem. But still, even if we will look at huge indexers, some of them still working with only one old pull together without any concerns about API or anything else. So I just trying to remind to all delegators, look not only on the APIs, but also on the activity of the indexer inside of the network, inside the community. And let's try not only get some kind of new tokens from all of this activity, but also I just trying to invite you, trying to attract you to more participating on the network, community life, speaking more about new GIPs on the forum, and speaking more inside of the Discord. I think it will be pretty helpful for all of us to understanding what you want and what you need.
So when you think about some of the challenges presented by the recent migration, what comes to mind? What challenges did you experience or other indexers experience during the recent migration do you think would be helpful for delegators to understand?
I think one of the most complicated question now, it is how to be 100% sure that your indexer has proper data, like verified data, because we don't have any, like ideal indexer, maybe some kind of example for all other indexers, which we can use for comparing with your own indexer. And the graph incentivized indexers to check their infrastructure and data consistency by themselves. They didn't provide any tools for it till now. And all of us thinking about how we can do that in a better way, because it is one of the main responsibility for indexers to provide verified data to be sure that our end users will get proper answers for their queries. I know that some indexers already prepare their tools for that. For example, we shared our tool for checking POIs with the community already. I also heard that Paying from Stake Squid also has their own tool for it. I believe that all of us will be more responsible and we start to work more collaborative for syncing our POIs to be sure that we provide correct data to our end users. And I hope all indexers who will listen to this will join to us and will use maybe our tools or Stake Squids, or maybe we will create some other common tools. But still, I'm sure that we should check all of our POIs and provide verified data.
Hi, this is Kasper Rasmussen with P2P Validators. We are indexers and delegators at the Graph. If my conversation with GRT IQ podcast has been helpful to you, then please consider supporting future episodes by becoming a subscriber. Visit grtiq.com/podcast for more information. That's grtiq.com/podcast. Thanks for listening.
GRTQ
Podcast.
I'd like to know how you both got involved in crypto. Let's start with you, Kasper. How did you get involved?
Oh God, feels like forever ago, even though it wasn't too long ago. So I initially I got into the space around 4 years ago in early 2017. Initially starting a smaller marketing position for a decentralized exchange at the time called Ethfinex, which was an Ethereum-based exchange built out by the Bitfinex team, or the Bitfinex exchange. I worked on Ethfinex initially in the beginning, again with a focus on the growth of Ethereum, before I eventually transitioned to a marketing and communications director role at Bitfinex, where I was for around 2 years. And Bitfinex, for those who aren't aware, is a cryptocurrency trading platform or an exchange. It was one of the largest exchanges at the time, so it was a very interesting and fast-paced entry into the industry. Fast forward, I guess, 2.5 years, and I joined the P2P team around, say, 6 to 8 months ago, on a mission to grow the staking economy and to increase the number of people staking their assets.
I started 2017 in the middle of the year and was work with Ambisafe. It was one of the pioneering company in the blockchain space. Founders of this company participated in the development of Tether on the Ethereum. And also they created one of the first semi-decentralized crypto exchange called Order Book. So I joined as a project manager there and product manager, and worked primarily with an ICO. It was some kind of phenomenon for that time. And I believe that it is still pretty cool idea, because if you know a little bit about some venture capitalism things, like any investments in startups, and you should know that it's pretty complicated to get some financial help to your project if you are not in the US. But in this case, with ICO, all projects around the world use this chance to make some funding for their projects, for their ideas. And I think it was one of the pretty good blockchain implementation. And during that time, I was really inspired. And that's why I'm still in the blockchain space. after that, I worked with some fintech company. It was a portfolio management company, not in the blockchain space. And for now, I just come back to the blockchain. I'm pretty happy to work with P2P because our team is pretty awesome.
I think it would be interesting to contrast Denmark and Russia in terms of how popular crypto is. So let's start with you, Konstantin. How popular is crypto with the people in Russia?
Actually, crypto questions, it's quite popular questions inside of the Russia, because if you come back to 2017, when it was cryptocurrency hype, first wave of cryptocurrency hype, even taxi drivers spoke with me about Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. And it was quite funny, especially if you if you work for this area for 10 or maybe 15 hours per day and just try to relax somehow inside of the taxi cab, and the taxi driver asks you about Ethereum or maybe about Bitcoin. It's quite funny. And we have a lot of startups here. Actually, one of them is quite famous. It's Waves, several exchanges here, and a lot of crypto entrepreneurs in Russia who actually work here but incorporated in some other jurisdictions. Because if you speak about some law questions, it's quite complicated inside of our country for now.
And you, Kasper, how would you describe the popularity of crypto with the people in Denmark?
I think there's definitely an interest. We have some great people from the industry that are from Denmark. For example, taking some of the MakerDAO guys as an example. I would say we're probably a bit more conservative here in Denmark, so we don't have the same, exuberance and enthusiasm for the price volatility, or that tends to drive the interest in the industry. There's a definite interest in it, and there's a passion for what's being built in the industry, and there's a passion for contributing to these developments. But we don't have, I think, the same level of excitement that we see in, for example, the US or the UK or many other places, which is, there are positives and negatives to that, but it's something that has a lot of room to grow, and I'm sure it will.
Kasper, if P2P and other validators are successful and there's a bigger adoption of the staking economy across the world, what's the impact?
It's a very tough question. Interesting question. To be honest, I'm not quite sure. Of course, the $1 million question is how or if we manage to connect this digital staking economy with more traditional legacy financial models and infrastructure. We're seeing it. I think we're seeing it happen initially very gradually, but over the last year or so, it seems like it's been kind of a boom in the growth of these staking economies. I think we still have a long way to go. There's a lot that we can all do on the education and awareness front to try to bridge the gap between legacy markets and these newer staking economies. Yeah, that's about as much of an answer as I can give, I think.
It's hard to talk about the staking economy and not talk about decentralized finance or DeFi. I'd be curious how you think about or define DeFi, Kasper.
I think it's all up for interpretation here. As you mentioned, I'm not sure I fully understand what DeFi is or what the implications of DeFi is. I'm not sure anyone does, to be honest. And that's based on how far we've come in the past, 4 or 5 years, as well as the potential of all the protocols and all the infrastructure that's being built now. We have so much we haven't learned yet, or so much we still have to learn about what the true potential of the DeFi space is, I think. And whether staking is a core component of this or a minor aspect of it, time will tell. I think it's a big component of it. I do think there's a lot more to the concept or terminology surrounding DeFi that we have yet to explore, and very excited to see what that is.
Konstantin, I'd like to know what your vision for the future of the graph is.
Actually, it's a pretty exciting time for the graph network, because for now we are in the beginning of the migration, and next couple of months we'll be pretty interesting because we will see query fees, of course, because we are waiting for them, and a lot of delegators asking about them, about some expectations, like what do you think about future API? Will it increase or not? How much it will increase? And actually, nobody knows for now because we don't know about how many queries will be there, how much cost will be for like each of them. Actually, we even don't know about how much subgraphs will be really working on the decentralized network, because we actually know about subgraphs on the hosted service now, but still, even if all of them will just migrate to the decentralized network, it will be only start for the graph network, because we are on the beginning of this really long road. And I think a lot of new applications will start working with the graph, especially after migration. Well, the graph network will be like a ground stone for the Web3. And also, if you speak about not only subgraphs, it's some kind of regarding to the subgraphs, but still, we didn't speak about curation. And I think it's a pretty interesting part of the network. I expect a lot of pretty cool opportunities there. From my perspective, it seems like some kind of pretty similar with ICO also and IO, where you just bet on something and you believe in something, and you will get more if your thoughts was on the right way. And if you are wrong, okay, like just try again. And I think it's pretty cool. And it's a good opportunity to expand economics to attract new people to the graph network. So as I said before, tokenomics of the graph network, it's pretty impressive.
What are some of the ways that listeners can learn more about P2P and the different projects you're working on?
So first of all, we have a number of channels where we're quite active. So our main one is, of course, our Telegram channel. We have our entire team there pretty much spending all their non-working hours, of course, answering questions and just trying to, I guess, contribute to everyone's understanding and the different networks that we support, and answer any kind of questions, whether it's support related or whether it's, I guess, more open-ended questions on the future of the graph, as an example. I feel we're quite active across a number of other platforms, for example, network Discords, network subreddits, network Twitter discussions. We always try to take a stance and contribute. I think it's a little bit of a challenging area as well. It's one where you can never do well enough, if that makes sense. Like there's not a limit to how much we'd like to participate in the graph community. We're big supporters of the graph, technical and non-technical developers and contributors. And I guess it's a mission for us to be as active as we possibly can and to contribute as much as we possibly can. And it's definitely on the roadmap to take more part. But we are, as I said, also very active across a number of channels. And if there's ever anyone that has a question or concern or any type of topic that they like discussed, we can always be found, I guess, specifically on our Telegram, but always across a number of other channels as well.
So specifically for delegators listening today, how can they make contact with you and the team?
So our website is p2p.org, very simple. Our Twitter is twitter.com P2P Validator, so at P2P Validator. And those are the main ones. It's the same for LinkedIn if you want to connect with us there. And if you want to connect with any of our team members to ask questions, you can find us on LinkedIn as well. On Telegram, our channel is called P2P Staking. So specifically to find us there, you can write t.me/P2P Staking, or you can just go to the search bar and search for P2P Staking or P2P Validator Community as a title. And you'll find our whole team there.
This has been a production of the GRT IQ podcast. You can find additional information, including detailed show notes, by visiting grtiq.com/podcast. That's grtiq.com/podcast.
Please consider contributing to this project and helping build the community by subscribing and leaving your review.
GRTIQ
Podcast.
Roger that.